Why not consider becoming a supporter of Film Network Ireland on buymeacoffee.com/FNI and sign up to become a member so you can benefit from all sorts of little extra perks. Tickets for screenings, tickets to our meetups, discounts, and so much more. You'll find more about us on social media, on Facebook and Insta on @FilmNetworkIreland. As always, we are excited to bring you exclusive interviews with some of Ireland's top filmmakers, actors, and industry insiders. If you enjoy our show, why not deep dive into our back catalogue for a varied and exciting look behind the scenes of what it's actually like to work in the film and TV industry across all departments on the island of Ireland. Wrapchat is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your audio content relating to film and TV.
Hello, you're very welcome to another episode of FNI Wrapchat. I'm Johnny Elliott.
I'm Georgina McKevitt.
And today we'll be joined by a brilliant artist and filmmaker, Maurice O'Carroll, who'll be talking about, amongst other things, his new up-and-coming film, SWINGBOUT, which is out in cinemas on the 20th of September nationwide.
And starring this guy.
And starring me.
That right cross again, raises her chin with that one. She's in trouble. And another big right. Another one shot away from Elliott.
Life is suffering. Life is pain. And whether she comes fast or slow, death is coming for all of us. The question is, how did you die? Because if you lived on your knees, you're going to die on your knees, motherfucker.
Have you ever been knocked out?
No.
Have you ever been stopped?
No.
When you go down, you better go down hard.
I'm gonna be world champ.
Everyone's gonna be world champ until the real world champ starts punching their face in. Look, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah? He wants me to fucking lose, Emma. He wants me to throw the fight.
Welcome to the fight game.
A storm carries the fury of the gods. It brings destruction and death. But a storm rewards the strong, the brave, and the bold. And I can tell you, with great certainty, a storm is coming. And I ask you again, how did you die?
Maurice, you're very welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Johnny.
Great night last night.
Yeah, good night. It was good to finally, start handing it over to an audience.
Yeah.
Because I suppose, when you're shooting it, like, that's your dream, that you can push it into a cinema. So to get to that point, because so many indie films don't get to that point, so it was a huge achievement for us.
Yeah. I want to talk about the film in a minute, but I just wanted to get a bit of a sense of yourself and your career and how you arrived where you are now as a filmmaker. How did you become a filmmaker?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to be a writer when I was at school, and I went to see my guidance counsellor and said, I want to be a writer. And this is in the 80s in Kerry. And he didn't even look up from his notes, and he told me I should be a plumber.
Wow.
So that knocked me back for years. And I was like a closet writer, but like I had my own trials and tribulations, drinking and whatnot. And it wasn't until I gave up drinking in London, like in my 30s, that I started writing again. And again, it was very much on the quiet, and I did manage to get into like the last stages with the writer's room with the BBC with the first script that I wrote. And it was actually a producer with the BBC said to me, he said, you know what, you have a very dark voice, and there's like a nice vein of comedy there. And I never seen myself as a comedy writer at the time. And he suggested to me, so you should actually go out, because you're going to end up writing soap opera. Like you're going to start with Doctors, daytime TV, Holby if you're good enough, and then if you're really good, you'll get on to EastEnders. And I was like, I don't even watch that stuff. He goes, I know you don't. Like, you should buy a camera, go out and make a short film. And so that day I put a camera onto a credit card, money I didn't have. And I just started trying to learn from there. And like intuitively, I knew I could do it. I didn't even I never had edited. I didn't own a computer, but I just knew I was like, this is what I was born to do. I understood the process very early. Now, I used to make balls of everything I shot, you know, and you'd have to learn, but like I knew the steps I had to take to get there. So it was always very intuitive to me.
So what was that short film about?
I actually didn't make a short film then. So I was in London, and the very first thing I shot was a wedding.
Okay.
So I heard of this guy who was looking to have a wedding video done. I was like, I'll shoot your wedding. And so that was a baptism of fire. And then I shot more weddings after that. And I learned so much on that. Like guys on the film set say to me now, oh my God, you're on the ball with everything, like you know the process. I'm thinking, this isn't stressful like a film set compared to what a wedding day is, because you have to do everything, every part of the process.
Zach Braff used that analogy recently on Instagram.
Really?
He's saying like a film set is like 26 weddings, trying to organise 26 weddings.
Yeah.
And because you're kind of, if I'm right, you're pretty prolific as a writer, aren't you?
Yeah, I like to, like I'm writing it. I'm always writing, and even when I'm not like scribbling on a page or typing it in, I got to a point where I gave myself permission to write every day, even if it was like if I'm watching TV, I'm analysing what's good, what's bad. When I'm talking with people, I'm writing because I'm soaking in what they're telling me, what the scenario I'm in is. So I just feel like I'm writing all the time. I don't need to sit down and say, oh, I need to do 1 page a day. And so I just love to write.
Yeah. And was Swingbout something you had already, or was it written specifically for production, for this production?
No, it wasn't something I had already. So I had a feature film that I wanted to shoot in 2020, and I was gearing up to shoot it in the summer of that year. And of course, then the pandemic came, knocked us all and everything on its arse, and that feature was gone. I knew, I was like, I cannot make that feature now. And so that year, I actually, like during the height of the pandemic, I made a documentary called MOUNTRATH Unlocked. So I had to do everything myself. But again, like the wedding stuff helped me do that. So I had to be DOP, I had to direct it, I had to do the sound, I had to do all the editing. But it was the first actual project I really got to do everything. You know, normally you're handing bits off to people, and I love that, collaborating. Okay. But I was like, oh, this is all mine. So it was all made within the 2-kilometre lockdown zone, you know, your exercise zone. And I just interviewed people. I was living in Mountrath at the time, up in Laois, and I just interviewed people within my 2-kilometre lockdown zone. And so I shot that documentary. And before the pandemic, I was working on, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. I was working on Terry McMahon's The Prize Fighter. Like Terry asked me would I come in and take over the edit for him on that. And so we just scrapped everything that was done already, went in, did a new edit. But during that, it was about Spike O'Sullivan and his quest to become a world champion. He had a 3-fight deal. And during the documentary, it ended up on the cutting room floor, but Spike mentioned what a swing bout was. And as a huge armchair boxing fan, I didn't know what it was. I'd heard it mentioned. I said, well, what is it? And Spike basically explained that if there's a gap in a TV schedule during a fight card, these swing bout fighters are brought in to fill that gap. but that means they have to come in at the very start of the night, get gloved up, togged out, and be ready to fight at a moment's notice.
It's like being an understudy.
Yeah, you have an understudy and you don't know when you're going to the ring, and you mightn't get there at all.
Yeah.
And he said something funny to me. He said, "Look, because you've got your gloves on," he said, "you can't even go for a piss. You have to bring your coach in with you." Right. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's great comedy there." So I just put that into my back pocket and said, "I'll use that. It's a good, like, if I need a one location idea." And so I just put it aside. And so then when lockdown happened, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the perfect lockdown movie." And people were telling us at the time the cinema was dead, that we'll never sit inside a cinema again together. And I was like, I so don't believe that. I'm going making a film, and if I have to make it in my shed outside, I know I could get the likes of you and people I've worked with before to come to my shed and we'd make a film. And I had said to Sinead, if I have to pick the phone out of my pocket, we're going to make it. And so Sinead just said, no, we'll crack on and we'll do it properly. And she get funding outside of the traditional funding routes. So I started writing it during the pandemic, and with a view just to making it ourselves, like go that punk filmmaking spirit that we've always had, because I've always worked outside of the system by choice really up to now, and I was just happy to do it again. But I really wanted to work. I love the process of filmmaking, so I was like, let's do this, let's do Swingbout. Yeah.
So you mentioned Sinead, it's Sinead O'Hearn, Powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's not the first time you've worked together with Sinead.
No. So I met Sinead.
Or Johnny.
Yeah. I met Sinead on my very first short film. And we always say we're kindred spirits. Like there was an immediate connection. And it's the same when I met Johnny. And when I meet these people, I hold on to them. I'm like, you're going to help me from now on. And Sinead was that person. But like, she was acting in it, but she was so resourceful. Like we hadn't even got into the building. We were going shooting. And she was like, I can help you get this and I can help you get that. And I was like, right, hold on to Sinead. And as we progressed through our short films, like our bond became stronger, and again, we're kindred spirits. So we just try every project just to level up. And because we're outside the system, it's so hard for us.
Right.
You've so little resources, and like we're happy where we're going now. And Sinead is just incredible, like, because everything I am hopeless at, she is amazing at. Like I couldn't. If I have to call Johnny, it's going to take next week, where she's called him yesterday. Yeah. She's just amazing.
And how is it, like, working with her as a producer and then directing her? Because she's also in the film.
Yeah. We both have to... I think it's harder for Sinead in that she has to take off the producer hat and get into actor mode. And I know that. And because we've worked together so long, like, I know what's great for Sinead. And when I was writing the role of Emma, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is Sinead. Like, this is her perfect range. I knew she could do a fantastic job for us there. Yeah. And so, like, I would just tell her on set, I'm like, you just take whatever time you need to get into whatever headspace you need to get into, and then we roll the camera. Because it is very hard for her. Like, I mean, we could be doing a scene in one of the dressing rooms, and the GA team could be in next door, bunch of lads making noise, and she would, like, we'd have to cut the scene, and Sinead would have to put back on the producer hat and go in and calm them down. But she's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, and she looked amazing.
She always looks amazing. Yeah.
And she's great in the film. I was watching it last night. There's a moment, and I think this really sums up what you are doing thematically with the film. There's a moment where we know that she's betraying Kira. It's a brilliant scene between the two of them. The two of them are excellent in it. But she embraces Kira. She says something along the lines of, I'm just sorry I couldn't protect you. And the two of them embrace. And we know that, she's a scheming bitch. But it's a lie wrapped up and dressed as compassion. Is that what you would examining in the movie?
Yeah. So for me, the film is about protecting the truth at all costs. And the opposite side of that was the lies that we tell and the damage that they cause. And our main character is trying to stay on that true path. Like she's been on the wrong path in her life, and she's like, right, this is my chance of redemption. If I can just be true, go out, put my life on the line in the ring, hopefully become world champion someday. And it's like a very noble cause. And like when you meet boxers, they're so humble and the integrity that they have. And I wanted to get that across with the boxers in it. That they're, you know, like they're hard-working people. They're down at the bottom of the pile in that industry. It's actually the fighters down at the bottom, the majority of them. And I did want to show that sometimes all of us are controlled by people with not our best interests in hands, and they're often people in positions of power. So like the boxing promoters represented that, and Sinead's character.
Yeah. Because it is essentially it's pure quintessentially independent. It's it's essentially so. What were the difficulties in casting and crewing when you're working at that level?
Everything's a challenge, really, because like from the moment you're trying to cast, I mean, we had to put it out there that this is a truly independent production. Chances are we're going to make no money from it unless we're one of them very lucky breakout films. And so what we to do was we to say, if you're a breakout artist, come join us. If you don't want to be sitting at home, come join us. And so that's difficult even to begin with. But like there's so many people out there like us looking for a break, looking to push in that door. And like we were very upfront and honest with people and just said, look, what we can guarantee you is to give you a safe creative space, and we're going to make bold choices all along the way. And so we had to put out a call for self-tapes to look for our lead actor, and it was so crucial to find the right lead actor, actress.
Was it always going to be female?
When I first started writing, no.
Okay.
And do you want me to go tell you why? So as I was writing it, I just felt like a female, like a girl inside that dressing room would be far more vulnerable in that male-dominated world. And like it's not that they're weaker. It was like, you know, to show how strong and the integrity that they have as the film progresses. But yeah, so we put out the self-tape, the call for the self-tapes, and we had to not only get the right lead actor, but then we had to match the antagonist. And so its physicality has to be the same. So that was difficult. And then like we got so many great self-tapes in from people, and I was like, well, she could do it, and she's great, and she's very good. And then Ciara sent in hers, and she was just so different to everyone else. But what she had was this incredible inner life going on in her performance. And she was so not what I was looking for in terms of physicality. And like I was saying to Sinead, she's far too pretty to be going into that ring. But by the end of the day, I said to Sinead, no, she's it. That's who we're going for. It's that inner life. And because the character in the film, a lot of it is internal with her, so like it was crucial that we got someone that could get that across. So once we cast Ciara, then we started casting everyone else. Now, I have a core group of people that I'm like, such and such could play one of these two roles. And so I had an idea of the support cast around her. But in terms of getting the female boxers, like that was the difficult part of it.
I think that's a lovely thing. Like you took time to like just be on her face and watch everything that was going on at so many different points. And that was a whole other story in itself, what was going on behind her. Yeah. Or internally within her.
Yeah, no, she's incredible. Like I can see great things for her. When she walked out onto set, it was like third day maybe, second day. And she's walking towards us, and like we've all the tough crew and the boys are vaping, and they're looking at her coming down. She's in the full boxing gear, and she's a tall girl, and she's she's very slim and fragile looking, and she's walking, she's shy. And JJ, our focus puller, says to me, "Is this your lead?" We called action, and Mark was showing me the goosebumps on his arm because she turned into a monster. So she's just incredible. And like, the crew was great, getting them on board as well, because the minute we put out, myself and Sinead put up a post up on Facebook or one of the social media, I don't know. And then next time, all the crew started contacting me saying, I'm in. Because I was still at the point where I could be filming this myself. I wasn't going to ask anyone for a favour. So they all started contacting me, and Mark O'Rourke, our DOP, like, I love his work. I love working with him. And so he said, I want on board. And so that, like, there's a great community of indie filmmakers out there, and we're all trying to, like, we all have that passion and that drive to try and break through them doors.
And it was the usual lads, wasn't it? Mark and JJ and the odd jump.
Yeah, so again, that core group, and then we added in some more people, and that's what I love about this journey. When you're collaborating with these people, is you start meeting more and more great people as we all try to come up.
Yeah. Was it was it a deliberate decision to shoot in January, or was there a reason for that, or is just the way it fell?
No, we were originally scheduled to shoot in October, and Mark O'Rourke actually contacted me and said a lot of crews will be out doing Christmas campaigns. So we'd lose work. He's like, I'm still in, we'll still do this. He said, now, if you held off to January, you'd get a great deal on your gear. And so, like, we've good relationships with the rental houses and stuff, and we did. We got an incredible deal on our gear. We got an incredible deal with Páirc Uí Chaoimh to shoot in the stadium, and it was a clever production model that we had. And so if we could get a real stadium to shoot in, like, it's authentic straight away, as opposed to building sets and it having looking hokey and ropey. Yeah. So yeah, it was actually Mark that steered me in that direction, that January would be the best time to shoot. Yeah.
It was actually great because I'm always depressed in January. Always, you know. It's just I start getting depressed after Christmas dinner on Christmas Day. I just hate the rest of it then. So being able to go somewhere for the month of January and just be creative was just something special, you know. How did you land Páirc Uí Chaoimh?
So SBG Gym in Cork, they were fantastic to us. We contacted them about stunt stuff, and Liam O'Griffin there, he's just amazing. Like, he's one of the most amazing men I've ever met. And he said to us, you can use this gym if you need to build a set, if you need rooms, blah, blah, blah. And we said, that's amazing. So we were going to shoot there. And we were looking for, there's some corridor shots in the film, and we were looking for a proper corridor. And our production designer, Darren O'Mahony, said to Sinead, let's go down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh and see, have they got anything? And Sinead was like, they won't even entertain us. He said, let's give it a go anyway. Went down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, got talking with them. Sinead laid her cards on the table, said, this is what we are. Like, we're looking for a corridor to shoot in. This is the budget we have. This is the overall budget we have. And they said, why don't you consider shooting it here? And they did an incredible deal for us. And so Sinead was on the phone to me, super excited, and I came down and had a look at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and you have like the media rooms, you've fantastic dressing rooms, referee rooms, the corridors, everything you need in an authentic stadium. But then I got very scared because we had to light a stadium. So, but as soon, like, Mark got Noel McKelligan from Red Rum Lighting on board, and as soon as the lad said, yeah, we can light this, then we were all super confident. Yeah. And it was an amazing space to get.
Yeah. And yeah, because the colouring as well, that sort of that yellow floor and everything, was that initially what you were thinking tonally?
Not the floor, there is the yellow in it, and it's a whole, it's just a little bit of symbolism and motifs to the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah.
So you like, there's Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland themes running through the film, but so the yellow, and we originally were covering up the floor because we looked at it and we had great, for the sound wise and light bounce and whatnot. And it was a happy accident. We were in one dressing room, and on the first day of shooting, it started pissing out of the heavens, and there was a water tank above us collecting all the rainwater. So we made the decision to move to the other dressing room, and then we have that yellow floor. Now I can't imagine it without that yellow floor. I know it's only a small thing for us, but like it does add to that motif then as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of the sound, which like for me can make or break a film, and the sound in this was amazing. And I know I was part of the table read, so I know there's like a whole other script for the commentators. So what was that like to write all the commentary as well?
Yeah, so it's like writing another film.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like
so when I was and I knew I had cues in the main script what was going on, and I knew where I wanted to go with everything. But so I had the assembly edit done, and then I said, right, I need to get this radio commentary done, and it is like a whole other script. But I did pitch it to everyone, like our post-production, that the sound in the film is like a soundtrack in itself. Like that soundscape has to be huge, otherwise we're just in dead space in a dressing room.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to build that. So a lot of time, like weeks and weeks, went into writing the boxing, and then building that sound. And we had a fantastic sound designer, Antimo Pucco. He's based up in Wicklow, and I got to sit in his studio for weeks, and that was another favourite part of the process for me. Like just the two of us sitting at a sound desk, two geeks, building the sound design for the film.
It was incredible because when you did listen in and just hearing what you would expect to hear in a stadium, and then hearing the commentary every now and again, and then other sound effects, it was incredible. Like,
thank you.
I said, a whole other level to the movie. Yeah. And tell us about this man here. How do you know him?
So I shot my first feature in 2016, and I had $5,000 to shoot it, so it was mental. And I call it my student film, but the very first day of the night before the first day of shooting, and I'm worked up now since my first feature, and one of the actors, we were just on Facebook or whatever, and we seen that he was in Harrods in London. So and it was Sinead that found him. Sinead said, what about Johnny Elliott? I said, oh my God, if you can get Johnny Elliott, get him. Because I used to see a lot of stuff you did with Jeff Doyle online. I thought you were incredible. So I was like, if you can get Johnny, get him. She said, the only thing is he's in a nightclub pissed. And so, so she collected him at 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah, I was hanging out at the bar. I was with Jeff. I was hanging out at the bar, and Sinead rang me, and she says, can you come down? It was down in MOUNTRATH, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go down to MOUNTRATH in the morning? And I was like, yeah. And then I went home. The next morning, Jeff woke me up. Me and Jeff were renting an apartment together, and Jeff woke me up knocking at the door. And she says, "You're not going with Sinead?" I said, "Sinead who?" She said, "You said you go down to MOUNTRATH." I said, "Did I?" So then my phone was off. I hadn't charged my phone, and I was trying to turn it on, and then I legged it outside, and there was Sinead sitting outside in the car. And she had 2 Alka-Seltzers and a bottle of water. She threw them in and gave them to me. Just drove me down then, yeah.
And so when we got down, we were driving we were shooting in this warehouse or antique store, whatever it was. And as we were driving towards it, my wife Elaine was in passenger seat, and she said she got goosebumps when she seen him because he had the long brown coat on and he was doing his lines. And so, she was in love with you from that moment, but I loved him then when, to see, we would tell you were dying that day. Yeah. I mean, the minute we switched on that camera, and even when you weren't on camera, what I loved about you was you gave so much to the other side of the table when we reversed the shots. You were on it 100% when the camera was on. And it was that professionalism then, I fell in love with that. And then, the second day, you 2 days with us, I think.
Yeah.
But on the second day, I said, will you work with me? If I have anything, I said, I have no money now. Let's work together.
Yeah.
And so, we stuck with, and then we did the web series after. So instead of shooting a second feature film, I just decided to sidestep and go and do a web series. And again, it was just, I didn't want to be sitting around kind of doing nothing. And I was considering, will I go down the development route with Screen Ireland? And I just said to Johnny, let's do this. I have an idea for a TV show, and I'll pinch bits from it. We'll just make it up as we go along, bits of it. And that was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, great.
That. So yeah, look, I'll always work with Johnny every chance I can get. And I think I'm not saying it's just because, and other people say it, like, you should be working all the time.
Yeah.
You should be. I don't know what's going on, but like, you're a fantastic actor.
Yeah. Tanya gives me a few slaps about that still. Yeah. That's part of its procrastination and stuff, Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you as well about you work alone a lot, don't you? I mean, you shoot, you write, you direct, you edit all yourself. How do you find that whole process?
I love it.
Do you?
Yeah, like I'm writing at the moment. I put it this way, Jim, my least favourite part is handing the film over to the audience. Like the premieres and the film festivals. It's nice. You want to get to that stage. But I'm just at home when I am writing. I'm at home when I'm on set. I'm at home when I'm in post-production. It's that creative
The
process.
worlds you're creating? Like,
Yeah,
do you fall in love with those worlds? Or
I fall in love with collaboration as well. Like, Johnny, like when you're saying I work alone, I do in the writing process, and I do for part of the post-production. But like when you get to set, like when you're meeting fantastic DOPs, when you're meeting like talented sound people, when you go into the post-production where like Mal that did our grade up in Belfast, just these super talented artists, and like they're so gracious. Like to help the likes of me try and get that project to a point where we can all be proud of. So yeah, I like I said at the start, I love the writing process, and then the directing is like the next step of that, and then I look at the editing as just putting your signature on it.
What's your philosophy on directing?
On directing, I just like to give everyone the space to do their best work. I think it's as simple as that. I don't, like, yourself, I don't like to give people too much specific. I know exactly what I want. And if we're not going in that direction, I'll just try and nudge someone somewhere. But like for them to, I have a film in my head, but that's where it should stay. And it's that collaborative process. Like that's where the magic happens then. So again, it's just to nudge people in the right way.
Yeah. And the edit as well. You were you fired into the edit, didn't you? I was surprised how quickly you had the film locked.
Yeah, that's a bit of a sore point with my wife, Elaine. Because, I just spend so much time in, like, it's like 24/7 when I'm in it then. And I said I wouldn't touch it for 6 weeks, and then 4 weeks later, after we locked shooting, I was into the edit. And again, some of it's down to the way I shoot, because I don't shoot coverage for coverage's sake. I'm like, okay, how can we tell as much as we can with as little coverage? Like, keep it as simple as possible. If we can tell a shot here, then we're done. And I don't go for the safety shot. Like, crews, we're not going in for coverage here. I'm like, no, we've got it. Let's go. Like, let's stay bold with this. So then when I get to the edit, it's just, right, have I got everything? And sometimes you run into trouble. But so it's a smooth enough process for me then. Like, I'm not trying to find a new story in the edit as such.
Yeah.
So you said it took 21 days to shoot. So is that something that you're comfortable with, like prepping so well beforehand that you go in and you're just ready for those 21 days? Or is that a luxury? Or like, what would you do if you had 50 days?
Yeah, I'd say it doesn't matter how many you have, you'll never be comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. We just knew we had to get it done in them 21 days because we only had, that was the contract with Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and it's a busy stadium. And it was, even when we were shooting, each day got busier and busier, and it felt like all the activities were closing in around us on the set. So we knew there was no going back for pickups. Like what we got in them 21 days, that was it. So you touched on it. It's all down to pre-production. So you just have to plan. And I mean, like I'd go and exercise, and all I'm thinking of is the film, right? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if the actor says this? How do I react to that? So you're super prepped going in. So then every question that's directed at you, you can answer it very decisively and quickly. And another thing is, because we had curated such a strong team on both sides of the camera, and they're all pushing in the one direction with us, that helps it go smoothly then as well. So I can't give them enough credit for what they did.
So what's next?
I'm writing a TV show. I haven't got anyone on board for it yet, but like Swingbout opened up some doors for me and gave me the confidence to finally write the TV show, because like so much work goes into that. Like if you're going to explore a massive world, like to devote your time to that. And I was like, right, I'll wait until I've got the right connections to do it. So I'm in that position now. So I'm writing a 6-part TV show. I won't pitch what it is at the moment, but I have like pilot episode done, and I'm just working away on just building that world. So hopefully I'll get that out to a few people fairly soon.
And is that something that you like will be self-funding again, or you're going to development?
No, I'll go a different route now with this. Obviously, as a TV show, I wouldn't be able to fund it.
Yeah.
So we'll look for the proper partners that can help us tell. Like it's a huge story to tell. So yeah, we'll go down the traditional route of funding.
And so what's because you said you got knocked back a little bit when you were younger. So what kept you going? Like, what was your inspiration, and what advice do you have for other people who might get knocked back?
Yeah, I say it to people all the time. Like, you can have the talent, but if you've got the grit to stay in there, like, just keep going. And I can listen to people say no to me all the time. I'm just going to keep. And I love doing it. I have a passion for it, and I don't need to make money out of it. My goal is that it will support me someday, and like that would be the dream. But I'm just going to keep going until my body and my mind don't let me anymore, because it's what I love to do.
That's kind of the message of the film, isn't it? like whoa.
Just getting back to the movie about the and I might throw you a curveball here. The idea of protecting the truth at all costs, is that something that keeps you up at night? That we increasingly live in a world where it's getting harder and harder to identify the truth.
Of course, yeah. Like, I've noticed in the last few projects I've written, I am exploring the nature of truth, and it does and especially during COVID, you just didn't know what was what anymore. You didn't know who was telling the truth. You didn't know what was a lie. And so I try to explore that through the work, and hopefully it's giving me answers as I go along. But yeah, like it's a funny world we're living in at the moment. And the next project I'm doing is, I suppose you could say, the core, if you broke it down, is the truth will set you free.
Okay.
So yeah.
And so, when is Swingbout coming out in cinemas? When can everybody go see it?
Great. It is in selected cinemas nationwide from September the 20th. So the Odeon, the Omniplex, at movies in Dublin, Cork, Limerick and Galway, and Mayo, of all places.
Great.
Yeah. So it's in, I believe, I could be wrong in saying this, I believe it's in 17 to 20 cinemas. Yeah.
Cork as well, is it?
Cork as well. It's in, yeah. So I don't know the exact cinemas in Cork, but yeah.
Okay. So you heard it, folks. Go see Swingbout, because I'm in it.
Bomber's Revenge.
Wait for the sequel.
Yeah.